Beware Romulans bearing gifts.
Hi, this is Eric.
And this is Caleb.
And welcome back to this, perhaps, minisode of Romulans Bearing Gifts, episode 54, in which we just get caught up with Caleb on the last couple episodes of Picard that he wasn't present for on the podcast, just so we can... I'm dying to hear as much as you guys what he thought. And so the next time we join up for Picard episode 6, we'll all be on the same page. But Caleb, go ahead. Tell us whatever you'd like to say on your reactions of 4 and 5.
Yeah, 4 and 5. I'll say right off the bat, I wasn't prepped that I was going to cover them today, so my memories for them might be a little bit more wavery.
It's no problem.
But I do remember thinking that episode 4, up to this point in the series, including the 5th episode, was by far the strongest one so far. I thought 4 was just excellent. All the cast are really kind of hitting their notes dramatically. That was the one where they're trapped in the gravity well, and I thought a lot of that stuff felt like classic Star Trek.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I remember, I wish I could remember what happened in it fully.
They're sinking. There's no way for them to get any power for the ship. And then meanwhile, Seven is off. She's playing Obi-Wan Kenobi in Attack of the Clones, trying to figure out what Sifo Dyas has been up to. She's on the search for the changeling that got away in the previous episode. So,
yeah, all that changeling stuff I thought was really well handled. Added some nice suspense, and it's fun to have that sense of kind of not being able to tell who your enemy is again. I think that's always a good plot device. And I remember I think that's the episode where Jack and Picard go to the bar and they're trying to bond.
Yes, many times.
Yeah, I thought all those scenes surprisingly worked quite well. And I love the revelation at the end of when we see, because they have this kind of, I don't know what to call it, this little bit going back to some discussion that Picard had when he was having dinner and all these students came up to him and are like, oh, tell us about your old days. And it turns out that Jack was there. And I thought that was a really nice way to kind of close out the episode.
Yeah, and I didn't see it coming. I should have, but I didn't see it coming that Jack was there. And then, as Carl noted, if you were being extra attentive, they dropped little hints along the way during the episode before the reveal. But you won't catch them unless you're really looking for them.
Yeah, although I can't remember if they actually do. I can't remember which one we have the big reveal about Jack, and we see his
which reveal.
Well, there's like that person talking to him in his head. I think we'd seen a little bit of tendrils earlier in the series. But
at the end of the previous episode 3, at the very, very end, it ends just like with Jack looking in the mirror and seeing like a flash of the red stuff behind him, and then that's it in episode 3. And that was the first time I believe we saw any of that. And then of course in 4, no, it's not till 5 that we get like much more of the Jack visions and the voice.
No, I feel like it is. I think it is 4 because in 5 is when we see him like kill all those folks.
Yes, but 5 starts off with him having like his first big vision where he's on the bridge of the Titan, and it seems like a regular day, and then in his vision he like kills like all the bridge crew.
Yeah, what I remember with 4 is I remember there was this scene with Riker. I can't even fully remember what it was because I watched it, I don't know, like whenever it aired.
Okay.
And there was, I think he was like either sending like a message to Deanna. I think that's what it was.
Yes, that was in 4. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found that scene so impactful. It was even making me well up a little bit.
Wow.
And then I remember being like soured. I was like, oh wait, now we're getting this big reveal with Jack, and it just feels like you just stepped on that dramatic moment.
Oh, okay.
I remember feeling a little bit of that disappointment, but But either way, I still think it was one of the strongest we've had so far this season. Absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
And I even thought, is it Amanda Plummer?
Yes.
I even thought her villain felt like it was coming into its own and becoming more interesting in that fourth episode.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I kind of didn't like her early on. I thought she was a little over the top, and I still think she is, especially in the later two episodes, 5 and 6.
No doubt.
But I remember in 4, I thought she was quite menacing.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to agree with that.
Oh, and I loved Riker throwing the rocket at her. I thought that was a nice little moment there.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was just as they were riding the waves of the contraction, they see the ship coming up, and
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, I thought you meant like they're in the same room and he threw a rock at her.
no,
No. Yeah, the tractor beam with the asteroid. Okay, yes, that I do remember.
yeah, I quite like that. And I even, Beverly, I thought it was nice them giving her a little bit of a spotlight there, giving her a little hand up. Being like, oh, this is kind of in her wheelhouse, the contraction thing. I thought that worked okay.
Yeah, it was obvious from first glance. I knew that was going somewhere because like
Yeah.
all this stuff is going on in the ship, and Beverly, of course, is just back there, like how you count like thunderstorm and thunder sound, like 1 Mississippi, 2
hmm
Mississippi. There it is. She's like almost playing a game by herself.
Yeah, and I remember being very pleased that we were leaving the Raffi plot aside, just because that was my least favorite part of the show up to that point, and I was just happy that we could have a more focused lens instead of jumping into a different plot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Around 20 minutes into watching it, I was thinking, Ra- Raffi Wharf? We're not going to go there. We're just going to stay on this. Oh yeah. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Let's just focus on this. That was a delight. And I also liked what I opined about previously. I said I was starting to get weary of every episode being so serialized and ending with ridiculous cliffhangers.
hmm
And I liked that 4 kind of had a little bit of a bookend. Thank goodness. That felt refreshing to me.
Yeah, yeah, no, that one definitely stands out, and it's because I feel like most of this series, because of the way it's set up, I feel like the episodes are so it'd be difficult to pick out a favorite because they're also the kind of the same in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all just this one ongoing narrative. This one does feel like it has its own little kind of uniqueness to it with that gravity well thing.
Yeah, which I like. It reminds me of when they had. It reminds me of the arcs in the Clone Wars 3D animated series. Like you'd get 3 episodes in a row that were the same tale, but each one had its own like peril, and that's kind of like how the last episode felt of this 4 episode arc.
But now on to episode 5. I don't know about this one. This one, I had a lot of stuff that I thought was quite interesting, but I don't know how well all of it worked. This is, I believe, the one with Ro coming back. I believe.
Absolutely, absolutely, it is.
Okay. Yeah, and I love seeing her back. I liked the mystery up front. Oh no, is she a changeling or is it her? And then I thought most of the stuff with her and Picard was well done. But I don't know, there was just an element of it that was making me think of the second season a little bit, where I was kind of like, now they're almost inserting in this stuff that feels, even I guess season 1 did it too with the Picard and Data like romance. Like there are these lost lovers, lost from time, and Picard couldn't stop obsessing over Data all the time, which just felt completely out of character to me. Some of the stuff with Ro, where he was like, "You broke my heart," I was like, I don't know. This I did not read this kind of strong feelings in their dynamic in
Well,
the series, and they
I
do.
haven't
Oh, sorry.
I haven't done it yet, but I really think I need to revisit their final episode on TNG together. I think it was the penultimate episode of the entire series. I really need to revisit that just to see if it really rings true, all the broken heart stuff.
Yeah, maybe I need to go back to it. It has been a number of years, but just in general, Picard was never that strongly personal with the crew. He always kept it, professional. And so to see this kind of rage and this he was almost like you were like a daughter to me that I didn't have. I was like, I don't remember seeing that in their relationship. So So some of that stuff just felt a little bit retroactive, I thought.
Even though I agree Picard wasn't that emotive on a day-to-day basis in the original series, um, I can imagine that he still had feelings underneath that could manifest themselves in bigger ways like 20 years later. If we talk about this like it's a real man, I could see that. I could, because I could see it in myself. Like there was things that happened 20 years ago to me that at the time I just kind of like, just brushed aside and didn't dwell on. But then 20 years can go by and things can marinate. Just saying.
Yeah.
Watch. It'll happen to you.
Yeah, and I did want to say they do a good job leaving it in there that like Picard didn't even expect how strong of a reaction he was going to have being reunited with her.
Yeah.
That like took him by surprise. So that was a good shield. But I feel like in general, all this new series of Picard, it's not really the same Picard that we got in TNG. He was much less personable, and the movies are maybe more of the base that this third season's going off of, and that makes more sense because that Picard is very different.
Oh, very much like the movies. But also, even though what you're saying is true, I would still say, and Carl, I know he said on the previous episodes, um, that while that may be true, that at least Picard in season 3 is far more like familiar Picard as opposed to Picard season 1 or 2. I'm talking about the character Picard.
100%, not even close.
Yes.
This season 3 Picard feels like the same Picard from those movies.
Yes.
He doesn't feel like the same Picard from the series, but definitely the same guy, and all of them. I think Riker feels like the same Riker from those movies, just with more to do, because he almost never had anything to do in the movies. And I guess we'll get to some of the other crew as well, but I guess like Worf. But
Yeah, I think up to this point in the season, I would say Riker is by far the most developed of all the TNG characters, the legacy characters. He's the one who's developed the most, like in these 4 or 5 episodes.
yeah, and what's sad is he feels close. He feels the closest, I think, to the TNG character. Like he feels like this could be where Riker ended up. It's just, I think we even talked about it when we did Bloodlines. At a certain point, I feel like Jonathan Frakes just started to give up on the character and started to put so little into his performances that in the latter years of TNG, he just became like, I don't know, like a Voyager character. Where he was there, he was putting out his lines, but there really wasn't all that much life to him anymore, most of the time.
I could see that. I'd have to go back and rewatch, but I can imagine what you're saying.
And in the movies, he became like this kind of almost comedy relief in a way. And this feels like a nice blending of the original kind of run of Riker before he kind of fizzled out, and then the fun Riker from the TNG movies. It feels like a nice marriage between the two in season 3.
And then what do you think about? Okay, so we have Ro back, and then what did you think of her having to self-sacrifice and all that business?
I could see it coming.
You saw it coming.
Yeah, I didn't think she was going to be sticking around. I didn't see her in any of the, like, it was such a surprise to see her, whereas everyone else that has shown up in this season so far, I'd kind of heard inklings that they're coming back.
I did not.
So I was like, okay, they're bringing her back here. Like, either she's going to stick around for a few episodes or so, or be a one-off. But I definitely thought she was going to die. I was surprised she was at the end of the episode, but I did figure she was going to die eventually.
Wow. Neither me nor Carl had any clue, had no idea that there was any possibility of her possibly showing up ever.
Me neither.
So we were. I mean, we didn't hear rumblings or like rumors. Nothing. Radio silence on the subject of her. So complete shock, like disbelief.
Yeah, and I was happy to see her too, because I always liked that character, and it was nice to see someone whose story ended on kind of I wouldn't say sour note, because I think it worked in that episode for my memories, but an unexpected note. So it's nice to see her, where she is now, and that everything's turned out okay for her until her death. So that was nice. And I think she did some, even though some of that stuff with Picard, some of the dramatic moments didn't necessarily ring true for me. I thought the performances were so good that it fooled me into believing it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But to, yeah, I guess to move to some of the more negative stuff, the Worf and Rafi just kind of sitting in that like town square on this like tiny little set. They're like, okay, bring the next warlord to us so we can take him out. I was like, oh no, these two just feel like a pair of doofuses. And yeah, I don't have much to say about that. I don't think that their dynamic's charming. I think Worf has become annoying. And his performance feels just a little bit off. Like, I don't know, like he forgot how to play Worf or something. I don't know, but yeah, no, that none of that stuff worked for me at all. And I thought the Vulcan guy who kept, I don't know, that just felt so forced to me. Him slipping in, trying to be logical, but in a way that just felt like it was like over orchestrated. It didn't feel natural, and it felt kind of cartoony.
I was
So
tickled by that character, the Vulcan, and both. Well, Carl didn't realize it until I pointed out to him. But I was also gleeful because of the actor who portrayed the Vulcan. He was one of our boys back in the day on Sci-Fi Party Line. He was one of the key side characters on the show Fringe. Um, he was
oh,
another secret agent, Agent Charlie. Can't remember his last name. And we used to love that actor back in circa 2010, 11, wherever he'd show up. And I hadn't seen the guy in a while, actually, not since 12 Monkeys, because, of course, Terry Matalas, the executive producer now on Picard, he's been bringing in all his friends, like in this season 3, to guest appear. From Captain Shaw to the actor who played Sneed to the actor who played the Vulcan. He's just missing like the female character from 12 Monkeys. I'm waiting for her to show up now at some point because he's.
ooh, yeah. Just since you mentioned Captain Shaw, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5, although I think it was 4. We have that scene in the bar where he shows up. He wanders in,
Mm-hmm.
and he just goes off. He blows up on Picard. Like, oh, here you are reminiscing about your younger years. Let me tell you about my first time meeting you, and I'll reminisce about how you fucking killed all those people, and I despise you. And it was just this massive blow up, and I thought that was a great scene, and that kind of helped soften me to this guy a little bit because I've liked the actor, but the character I wasn't all that intrigued by. But that moment definitely shaded him differently for me from going forward.
Oh, I think Shaw is a delight. He is easily in the Picard series the best non-legacy character they've introduced. But there's no competition really in the Picard series for
Mm-hmm.
that. But I think he's incredible. I If I still read books, I would love to see spin-off novels involving his character. I think that stuff would be really fun to get into. Maybe if they
Yeah.
produce those, I'll listen to them on audiobook or something. Um, but I think his character is a delight, to be honest. And it's funny also, even though I don't know their names, I feel like I'm already starting to get to know the bridge crew of the Titan, like the Helms
Yeah.
people and the other ones. I feel like I'm starting to get to know them better than I even know their counterparts on Discovery.
Yeah.
Like like to this day, I still don't really know those side bridge characters on Discovery after 4 seasons. And I feel like the Titan people I'm already starting to get to know better.
Yeah, and for Shaw, I also liked in the 5th episode because Riker returned command to him, and so then they had to convince him, like, okay, we got to get out of here because the changelings have essentially taken over the Federation.
Oh yes.
And yeah, I liked how that dynamic played out. I thought that was well done as well.
Excellent. Really excellent. I told Carl last time, let's just take Strange New Worlds off the table for a second, pretend like it doesn't exist. And for me, episode 5 of Picard that was my favorite Star Trek that I had seen like ever, like in the post Abrams world or time. That was easily my favorite Star Trek because I need to take Strange New Worlds off the table because it's a little bit confusing trying to compare some of those to this because it's like kind of apples and oranges.
Yeah, no, that's I was thinking about that too. Yeah, it's difficult to compare them, but yeah, no, I think this is definitely it. Picard season 3 is definitely getting very strong. I think at this point it's probably better than most of the TNG crew movies, which is not hard to be.
You so you don't even have really like a penchant for First Contact, the movie.
No, no,
Wow,
it's not to me. It's not the characters from the series.
I know, but it's just a good movie. It's just a good movie.
Uh, some of it's good. Some of it's good. The horror stuff I really like. All the stuff with the Borg Queen like corrupting Data. I think that stuff is really dated and bad, especially. But I didn't even like it back then. That just felt out of character as well.
God, I just
But we'll I guess we'll discuss it one of these days.
yeah. One of these days, I'm surprised I've never done any of those like that I recall any like TNG movies like on a podcast or anything.
Yeah, surprisingly, my favorite one is the third one. What's that one called again?
Oh, Insurrection.
Insurrection. Even though that one I think is a pretty bad movie, it's the only one that feels like it could be a piece of the TNG.
Oh, well, definitely because it does feel like an episode of TNG. But
But character-wise, I think.
that one has definitely grown. I used to despise it the way I despised something like the Phantom Menace. That's how I used to feel
Hmm,
about Insurrection. But it has gone up considerably um, over the last 5-10 years for me.
that's nice.
That's nice. Any other final thoughts you have on those two episodes?
Yeah, I just wanted. There was a couple little lines here or there that I thought were good, at least in the fifth episode. I remember there was one. I can't think of them all, but there was nice little fun lines from Picard and Riker. I think they have a nice dynamic in this season. And one of the ones I remember is I think it was Shaw was kind of when they were trying to convince him about, hey, we need you to steal the ship and take off from because we can't trust Federation. I think Shaw was like going through a list of the things from the TNG
Oh
movies.
yes.
Where he was like, remember when you guys did this and did this? And he's like, I'm not going to trust you guys. And then he left. And then Picard leaned over to Riker and was like, those were the days. I remember that moment.
See, I like that whole scene, and he said, "You all have a whole chicken and egg thing
Uh-huh.
going on." I did like that until Picard said, "Those were the days," and and then I felt like he was winking at other fans who are amused by those kinds of things, but not me.
Yeah, I just thought it was cute because I like Picard. He's so. I mean, again, this doesn't really feel like the TNG Picard, but I like him that he's now kind of reflecting and enjoying and wishing he can get back to that time. Even though, if you include those other two seasons, I mean, those times really didn't end for him. He's been going for years and probably never stop. But it's nice to see him nostalgic for the days of adventuring.
And I don't want to even open up this can of worms, but here I go. Um, there is, and it doesn't take me out of the show or the season, but there's a small part of me in the back of my mind, like when we have these good moments, like you just described. There's a part of my brain that says to me, but this isn't really Picard. This is just a facsimile,
Yes.
kind of like a duplicate, a la The Prestige. Like, like it's just like an
Oh,
animated vessel, but it's not the original. It's not the actual person. So all this reminiscing and also character developments or revelations or come to Jesus moments, all well and good, except it's like having for the other people around Picard, it's like having a moment with like an AI program or something. Um, that's the only part that's weird to me in the back of my mind, and it shouldn't even be in my mind because they should have never done that in the first place. Excuse me,
yes.
but it's there. It doesn't ruin it, but I feel like they're all talking to a ghost in the shell.
Well, okay, yeah, I think when we did cover the Prestige, I said it doesn't matter because it is the same person, and that is how I feel. But at the same time, I also agree with you. I wish they would have never done it because It strikes me as insulting that they would go, okay, we're gonna kill Picard and then put him in a robot body. That just seems like, why would you get to the point that you're making that kind of choice? That just seems stupid.
Yeah, because he's still dead. See, it's not like Spock in the movies where they transfer the consciousness. See, that's different. Um, I feel like this is more a copy of a conscience, not the same conscience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but for the copy, he's still the same guy. So in that way, but yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, but God, what a stupid choice. Robo Picard.
And it seemed at the beginning of season 3 that almost like they never talk about it again. But it does kind of
Mm-hmm.
come up here and there just to remind me
Yeah,
that it is a thing that did happen.
but yeah, that's about all I got for these 2 episodes. I definitely am on board, and I'm liking this season a hell of a lot more than I was expecting.
And I'm going to force
So
you
that's
to, I
good.
know you don't want to, I'm going to force you to rate the 4th episode. The unit of measure on that one was Odo buckets. How many out of 5? Or Odo pots, I should say.
Well, if I'm comparing it to the rest of Picard, it's a 10 out of 5. I mean, it's the best episode so far, but I'll give it a 5.
Wow, but that's even extreme, even if you're just comparing it to other Picard episodes of the season.
Well, Picard in general, Picard in general,
But
10.
still, you're twice as good as all the others up to this point.
Yeah, I think everything was hitting exactly where it needed to hit in the 4th episode, and yeah, 5
Okay,
is what I would give that one.
and then the 5th one, it was Bajoran earrings. How many out of 5?
Ooh, um, maybe a 4. I think a 4. There was a lot of it that really worked, but the things that didn't work, that whole Worf and Raffi, oh boy, that was just bad. And the Rose stuff, as much as I really like seeing her back, and I did like a lot of her scenes with Picard, yeah, it didn't quite work for me. So yeah, I think a 4. Yeah, but still good.
Man, I mean, good ratings, but man, you are a tough crowd in general to please. I'm telling you, not just for this, for many things. Tough crowd. All right.
Ah, I think a 4 is a high rating. I don't know. I don't think that.
No, I said no. Those are good ratings, but I'm still
Oh, okay.
it's still a challenge for the show just to get that 4 out of you. Uh,
Yeah, and I think it comes down to this show in particular for this season. I mean, it's a sequel to something that I don't really like that much, the TNG movies. It feels much more a sequel to them than TNG, and I feel like I'm never really going to get TNG back, but I still get this sequel to something that I don't really like, but it's better than what I don't really like. So it gives me mixed emotions. It's just like in Star Wars, anything that ties into the prequels, even if they do it well, it's still like, oh, it's still tied into this thing that I really don't like, the prequels. So,
but okay, so I have to explore this now.
oh crap.
So I understand how the TNG movie crew and characters are quite different from the series, the original TNG series, and it's not
Hmm.
to your taste, whatever. But does that affect you at all with the TOS crew when they transition from TOS to Motion Picture Land? Because certainly Khan afterwards, they are a lot different than they were on the TOS series.
Well, what's nice is even though they feel like they're heightened, it still feels true to the characters. It doesn't feel like you took the diplomat Picard and suddenly he's swinging from power chords and he's having fist fights with the Borg Queen. That stuff just felt completely like it was written for a different character. That didn't feel anything like Picard. Whereas Kirk, something like Wrath of Khan, I feel like there were little bits of that bleeding in from TOS. I think you guys even covered an episode that you guys mentioned felt like it was almost a precursor to that stuff with what was it called? Oh, it was with what was that one called? Do you remember? It was one of the first ones you did with that was Carl's pick. It was about a killer like robot. Crap. Or AI.
From TOS?
Yeah, TOS.
Man, which one do we do with a killer robot or AI?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an AI.
I'm trying to think which one because there's like
Yeah, I know. That's
3 or 4 TOS episodes that have something like that.
that's where my confusion comes in.
Oh man, I don't know. Now I have to look at the feed because I can't remember.
But either way, the robot thing and Daystrom, the designer of it, were like,
Oh, it was the Daystrom episode.
yeah,
Okay, that was. I can't think of the name of the episode, but I know the episode in my head. I can see it.
yeah. It was like they're picking on Picard for being like, oh, you're obsolete. You know, you're getting these machines will be replacing you soon. You're getting up there, and Picard was or Picard, Kirk was getting all sensitive about it. Some of that felt like it was bleeding into like the motion picture, for example. And I can't remember the other things.
The Ultimate Computer.
The Ultimate Computer, great episode.
I forgot we did that on the podcast.
Yeah, that was a great episode of TOS.
Interesting.
I actually rewatched that one just a few months ago too, and I'm surprised I can remember what it was called.
God, and it's insane that I guess we did that in 2016, but still. All right, phew. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm sure there's some listeners who are dying to hear more Picard updates, but it's going to be probably 3 episodes from now on the feed that we get to episode 6. But trust me, there's going to be plenty to talk about. And it's going to have Caleb and Carl on the episode because I've already decreed we're not recording that episode without the 2 of them. So at the very least.
Nice.
So stay tuned for that. All right. Whew. Didn't expect to even go that long, but it's all good. And closing out the show today, this is Eric.
And this is Caleb.
And until next time,
those were the days.
Beware Romulans bearing gifts.
oh, okay, that works. Okay. Where's my notes from previous episode? On one of the ones I did with Carl for the closing out or whatever, I said 10 fucking grueling hours.
Oh, the Picard line.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it played, I was like, what?
I was surprised.
I actually had to hit rewind and put the captions on to confirm I heard what I thought I heard.
And I remember him swearing during that first season when everyone was throwing around F-bombs everywhere. And it was weird, but it felt much more appropriate this time.